The use of AI and machine learning is driven by the data that lives behind it. And it's no secret that data-driven decision-making is being used everywhere and is inevitably a part of our daily lives. But can this data be trusted? Join us as we head to the University of Queensland to talk with Gianluca Demartini and his research on data bias management.
So we have seen in the literature a lot of attempts to remove bias and fix the bias issue in data. For example, methods to rebalance labels in training data sets, doing data augmentation, doing domain adaptation, and even the use of generative AI to create more training data that looks like the training data we really want to use.
So what is the major flaw when it comes to data removal and relying on human annotators?
If it is the system deciding how to adjust for bias, then that's a biased choice as well, because it's just one possible way to do it, and that will introduce a bias from the people who design and developed the system which is being used. So one example is that of crowdsourced project like Wikipedia, where a common behavior we observe is that of the Nielsen 99-1 rule that says that 90% of the participants are just observers, 9% are sporadic contributors that do very few edits in Wikipedia or contribution to the project, and then the 1% is dominating the contribution to the project and the data that is being provided, and this creates a strong participation bias where the data we collect massively represents only that 1% of the population, and it is again as an unbalanced representation of the whole population in the data we are collecting.
Demartini and his fellow research colleagues believe there is a better alternative than simply trying to remove data bias.
So the idea of data bias management is that of not removing necessarily the bias from the system and from the data, but rather to keep track of it all the way through data pipelines to the end users, and finally surface it to the end users in order to empower them to make decisions on how to adjust the results and the decisions they are making for the bias which is present in the data and which is inevitable, as we have seen earlier, and it cannot really be removed completely from the system. So data bias is changing our perspectives, and it's influencing our decisions already through social networks and recommender systems. So why don't we instead increase transparency and empower the end users to manage bias by themselves and make better informed decisions?
Learn more in the January 2024 Communications of the ACM in the opinion article, Data Bias Management.